All right, guys, so we're joined here by good friend Charlie Burton, trader, and our good friend here, as you can see. We've been talking now with Charlie for the last hour, almost 2 hours now, about stock markets, currencies, gold, Bitcoin, and cryptos. It's been great. Charlie, I want to talk to you about the election that's coming up here in the UK. To be honest, I don't know about you, Charlie, but I'm trying to basically put my fingers in my ears and not listen to anything on the news because I'm sick and tired of hearing about it. And this is not political, guys. I mean, neither me or Charlie are political here. We don't care about political parties. I know I don't. But I'm just sick and tired for the last few years of hearing nonstop about Brexit this, Brexit that. And again, it's not for political reasons. I'm tired of hearing about it. I think anyone who's lived in the UK has got Brexit, what's it called, fatigue syndrome, whatever it's called. So I just want to get it over and done with, whatever the outcome is, whether it's Brexit or whatever the outcome is. I just want to get it over and done with. So we got an election coming up, Charlie, this Thursday coming up, and I just want to talk to you. Many folks are speculating one outcome to be bullish for the British pound, some currencies like the pound and the euro. Some are saying no, it could be devastating for the pound and the euro. Charlie, your take.
Yeah, interestingly, from what I'm hearing, either conservative majority or a Labour majority should be bullish for the pound. Labour because they may go for a second referendum, and then effectively the UK could end up remaining in the Eurozone, and that would be very bullish for the pound. But even with the Conservatives who are looking to get a Brexit deal, that would, as long as they had a majority, should be very positive for the pound as well. What the markets don't like is uncertainty. So if we get a hung parliament, then we should see quite a decent sell-off in the pound. And I think that people need to be careful. I'm not touching the pound, any of the pound currency pairs at the moment ahead of the election. I wouldn't want to be in a position and then holding it through now. Yeah. It's different if someone's been in the pound for the last few months and they're in a big buffer, but that's a bit different. But generally speaking, I wouldn't want to be taking fresh trades ahead of the election. The implied volatility is forecasting plus or minus move of 500 pips on pound dollar, either up or down. And so, if you want to gamble, that's one thing, but you could lose a lot of money doing that. So yeah. I'm just staying away from it for the time being. But of course, it's fascinating. Some of my traders are going to be up all night trading in our live trading room, funny enough. And so, because it's going to be volatile, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point. So I agree with you that I think if Boris Johnson gets in, again, this is not political, but I think the markets seem to be speculating, or the markets seem to be already projecting that Boris may get it, because the polls seem to be showing that as well, that Boris Johnson may win, although the polls may end up being wrong, just to mention. But if Boris Johnson wins, Zach Meir mentioned this, and I kind of agree with him. I think we might agree that it's potentially bullish for the pound, maybe bullish for the euro as well, because that's going along with what the markets seem to be expecting in the moment. I think a Corbyn victory, if Jeremy Corbyn wins, for people who may not know, Jeremy Corbyn is more on the left side of politics. But if Jeremy Corbyn get in, Zach believes that could be. Zach actually said that a Corbyn victory might end up, and the pound could drop to 1.20.
It would be on the day. It would be calamitous. You'd have the pound put down by 5 cents, maybe 10 cents, something horrific, and the FTSE down by 400 or 500 points. I mean, it would be an absolute it would be a complete. I mean, whether it was correct to do so is another matter, but the reaction would certainly be a massive fall in the FTSE 100 and a massive fall in the pound.
Really?
Yeah. So there's no. I mean, it would be literally be an absolutely people would just be getting the money out of the country. Like.
Now he's very bearish on the pound. Zach is, if Corbyn gets in, if Corbyn becomes president, because that's a shock. I mean, he's saying, look, it's a shock to the market. Nobody's expecting it, and it's almost like Donald Trump, nobody was expecting it. Well, we say nobody. We were expecting it. I was expecting it, and so are a few people. But what do you think about that? I mean, a Corbyn victory could that be a shock to the system? And because Corbyn is more on the left side of politics, might that not sort of create even more uncertainty that could bring the pound down to 1.25, 1.20?
The market is an emotional being, and so look, if Labour get into power, the majority, then they've already made it quite clear that they're going to borrow a lot of money, and that borrowing could see the UK economy downgraded by the likes of S&P and Moody's, which wouldn't, you would think, be good for the currency itself. But there is that potential for the pound to rally on a Labour majority, not because of the way that the Labour is going to govern, but purely on sentiment. The market could then say, hold on a second, that the UK might stay in the Eurozone now, and the market will just go with that sentiment. So I'm going to go the opposite to what Zach's saying, not because of fundamentals, because fundamentally I would agree with Zach that if the Labour government got in, fundamentally it should come down. But I think that in the short term we could actually see the pound actually appreciate, just because of that sentiment that, oh, we might be, the UK may stay in Europe, which is a positive thing.
You mean because of a second referendum if Labour gets in? If Corbyn gets in, there might be a second referendum.
Correct. And if we have a second referendum, that could well mean that we end up staying in the Eurozone, and so and the market could initially quite like that. But
can I just say something about that? And again, guys, this is not political, but this is what I predict. If that's the case, which look, a couple of years ago, I used to think that maybe a second referendum, maybe okay, because it's such a complicated issue, maybe it's not a bad idea. But now I think a second referendum would be a disaster. Here's why. And again, it's not because I have any political leanings. I don't have any political leanings. But here's why I think a second referendum would be a disaster for everyone and for the UK. Because let's imagine we have a second referendum, and let's imagine the Remain voters get the votes. Let's say Brexiteers lose, and let's say the Remainers win. Can you imagine the chaos this country would be in for years? Because the Brexiteers would say, well, wait a second, you stole the Brexit vote from us. Do you see my point? Because there would be so much, even if Brexiteers accepted the vote, the second referendum, there would be so much resentment and anger that Brexit, the first referendum, was stolen away from them, was taken away from them, that I think that would create so much uncertainty, anger, and resentment in this country, in the UK. I think the potential consequences would be far worse than if we just said, no, look, we had a referendum, we got the vote, we got the Brexit, let's just continue with it, with all the uncertainties that come with it. Charlie, what do you think?
Could do. Look, again, we're all speculating here because none of us really know, because these are uncharted waters, and we're mixing up fundamentals with the sentiment within the market as well, and that's very, very difficult to ever know. So who knows? I agree with what you're saying, though, that I think if we went to I'm not going to get political here, but if we did go to a second referendum, I agree, because if it swung to Remain but was only a small majority on Remain, then that'll upset the Brexiteers, and again we just end up having half the country moaning and half the country happy, or whatever. So
you just mentioned if a slim majority of Remainers on the second, assuming it's a second referendum happens, we don't know. But if it's a slim majority of Remainers get in, oh my God, can you imagine how many years is it going to take to fix that one? I mean, we're just trying to solve a deal here for Brexit for the last couple of years, was it 2-3 years now, Speen? And now the whole thing would be a shambles. The whole thing would be a shambles. Honestly, I think the second referendum would create even more uncertainty that I think the markets would not react well to it. That's my view. I might end up being wrong on that. We'll see. By the way, guys, let us know your opinion. Give us your feedback on the comments. Before we finish, I also want to mention that Charlie's got a fantastic trading program, his day trading program. He's got a fantastic offer, Black Friday offer on his day trading course. The link for that, I'll put it for you, easytrader.com/leading trader. Do check it out. And guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Thanks very much indeed.